Today, I want to talk to you about something that is very personal to me, and that's resilience. Not the kind of resilience that sounds good on a motivational quote, but the kind that builds when life pushes you into moments you never expected. Every success story has chapters that almost broke the person living it. As we celebrate 5 years of Vibe Connection, I stand here with so much gratitude. Gratitude for this room, for this company, gratitude for this journey, for every lesson, every person, every setback, and every victory that has brought us here. Because 5 years may sound like a business milestone, but for me, this moment is deeper than business. This moment is personal. Vibe Connections wasn't born from ambition. It was born from survival. It was born from faith. It was born from pain that had to be turned into purpose. There are seasons in my life that I felt that I had every reason to break. And to be honest, there are moments when I did. There was a time in my life I was actually pregnant with my first child and discovered that the life I thought I was building wasn't the life that I was actually living. It was one of the most painful seasons in my life, but I did what most women do. I kept showing up. I smiled at baby showers. I hosted gatherings. I celebrated the life growing inside of me while quietly carrying heartbreak no one else could see. That season taught me something very early. Sometimes strength doesn't look like fighting. Sometimes strength looks like surviving. Years later, after my divorce, life became real very fast. We had about $80,000. That's been the savings we accumulated over the course of our marriage. And that was supposed to be split between us after our divorce. But before that could happen, my ex liquidated the account and moved out of state. And just like that, it was gone. I remember looking at my bank account and seeing $500. At the same time, my son needed seizure medication that cost $350 every month. I remember sitting there and doing the math in my head. If I paid for this medication, how was I going to pay for everything else? In that moment, I realized something had to change. So I did something that was very, very hard for me. I asked for help. I went to the owner of Keller Williams, at the time he's still the owner, and I explained my situation. And there was a program happening called Bull that cost $800. I told him, honestly, I can't afford that right now. And I will never forget what he said to me. You can't afford not to. So I took a chance. I took the class. And by that December, in 1 month, in December, I had made to the penny $80,000. Not because life had suddenly become easy. It's because something inside of me shifted. Sometimes the breakthrough you're praying for is waiting on the other side of the decision you are afraid to make. During that season of my life, when I didn't want to talk to anyone, I talked to God. I prayed constantly. And there was one moment that still gives me chills when I think about it. My son, RJ, was just a few months old. I was sitting in the car feeding him, and suddenly I heard a voice inside me clearly saying, put him back in his car seat immediately. Now, I thought it was my ex at the time talking to me. He said, no, I didn't say anything. Nothing seemed wrong. Everything looked normal. But I listened. I quickly buckled him into the car seat, and just moments later, boom, we were in a car accident. In that moment, I realized something powerful. Even in the seasons where I felt alone, I wasn't. God had been walking with me the entire time. That season changed the way I saw everything because I learned something that has guided my life ever since. Breaking is not the same as ending. Pain can refine you if you allow it to. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes strength looks like showing up for your child when your heart is breaking. Sometimes strength looks like choosing peace instead of revenge. Sometimes strength looks like walking away from what is hurting even when you don't know what comes next. Eventually, that mindset helped me to build not just emotional strength, but financial strength. There was a point in my life that I made a promise to myself. I would never allow myself to feel powerless again. Not emotionally, not financially, not spiritually. So I built. I built for my children, I built for peace, I built for freedom. And somewhere along the way, I crossed a milestone I only once dreamed about. But success didn't feel like an ending. It felt like proof. Proof that pain doesn't disqualify you. Proof that betrayal does not have to become your identity. You still belong in that room. You can still lead there. You can still win there. That is what these 5 years represent to me. Not perfection, proof. Proof that perseverance works. Proof that faith works. Proof that vision works. Because success is not the finish line. Success is the platform. And from this platform, we will dream bigger, build further, impact more lives, and open more doors for the people coming after us. Because when you choose to rise again and again and again, there is no limit to what your life can become.